Why did your co-defendant shoot your uncle? What was the reason?
They were arguing. They were simply arguing, and I couldn't answer that. I don't know. He told me he felt like he wanted it, or he wanted to see what would happen, but I don't know. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Only the Iowa Parole Board, only Iowa, will they respond to someone's answers that, I don't know, he wanted to know what it would feel like, but I don't know. Fair enough. Unbelievable. But it's Iowa for you. This parole board, they are, in my opinion, dangerous. And we're going to see 2 parole hearings today that, in my opinion, may just prove that.
2 people are facing charges more than a year after a deadly shooting the police say was staged to look like a suicide. Police arrested Joshua Conklin, who's 28, and his girlfriend Felisha Campbell, who's 26. Conklin is charged with second-degree murder, while Campbell is accused of conspiring to commit a felony and accessory after the fact. Investigators say Conklin used an air rifle to shoot 44-year-old Randall Campbell at close range. This happened in Cedar Rapids on Hamilton Street Southwest. In June of 2019, an autopsy found a pellet from the rifle lodged in Campbell's brain. The victim is Felisha Campbell's uncle, and investigators say that Campbell admitted to suggesting that her boyfriend staged the killing as a suicide.
All right, we are back. Thank you for your patience. So it looks like we have Felisha Campbell up next with you. Any updates or anything that we should know about her that's not in the recommendation?
No, ma'am. So everything, I reviewed the recommendation, nothing has changed. So we are still in support of place of refuge in Benton, and then the locales for her services for mental health and substance abuse also have not changed. So everything in the plan is still accurate, no disciplines, no updates. Everything's as stated.
Okay. Any questions for Adam? Okay, sounds like we're ready to bring her in.
All right, thank you. Let's see right here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and your ID number for me?
Felisha Campbell, 6335082.
Are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
All right, why don't you start by giving us a brief but detailed explanation of the crimes and what was going on in your life at the time?
I have 3 separate cases, so I'm just gonna start from the first one and then work my way. So the first one is the death of my uncle and my participation in it. So my co-defendant shot him with a pellet gun and he died from it. And I helped him get away, and I had lied to the police about it. I wish that I could tell you why I did it, but I did it. And at the time, I don't even know. I don't feel like it's a good enough explanation to say that I was high or that I was with my co-defendant, was in love with him. Like I have a hard time with it myself. So, I don't really have an explanation on why, I was separated from my co-defendant, and it happened in 2019. I was separated from him via being put in the Anchor Center in Cedar Rapids, September, which is when I started cooperating with the police as well. But I didn't do so well in the Anchor Center, and I ran and was on run for, I want to say 9 months, and it ended in a high-speed chase where I ran from the police. I stopped. I had meth and marijuana on me, so I got a felony alluding to possessions and then driving while barred in the third. And that would be my second case. And then I was put on pretrial release for, I want to say it was March of 2021. All the way up until August of last year, and I was arrested with meth again. My biggest problem is I'm a drug addict. I couldn't stay clean while I was out for the pretrial release. I knew I was coming to prison, and I just felt like there was no reason. I guess I got arrested on August 3rd, and Manchester, where I based my charges there. And then I went to Lynn County, where I based the charges for my uncle in the high-speed chase. And I was sent to prison on September 19th, and I have been here since.
Thank you. Appreciate the detail and explanation. Can you talk to us a little bit about your history with substances? How old you were when you started, how frequently you were using, and then if you've ever tried treatment before.
I started when I was 15. I started with drinking and marijuana. I was a very frequent user until I found out that I was pregnant with my oldest son, and that was when I was 19. And I was like that new mom, and I got clean, and, I stopped everything, and that lasted for a few years after he was born. And, I guess I skipped the part where I was, an occasional meth user in that period of time too. I was able to pick it up and put it down. But after I had my son and started using again, I got really bad. I was arrested for possession of marijuana, and so I did treatment for that, and I had completed it. And then I guess I really just was under the radar for a while until my DHS case, which was in 2017-18. I was in family treatment court, and I had completed ASAC then as well, outpatient, after trying inpatient for a day, and I left. Since then, since the stuff with my uncle happened and being on probation I was already on probation for possession of meth, my first one. And I tried to go to inpatient treatment, and it did not work. I left. And I also tried the Heart of Iowa, which I left there too. So, I completed ASAC twice successfully, and that was outpatient. Inpatient, I never completed successfully. So, and then this is my longest period of time being clean. So, yeah.
What was it about inpatient that led to you leaving or not being able to complete it?
I can't put it any more simply than I just was high and I didn't want to be there. I couldn't be high there. That's the best I got. I don't know. I wish that I could go back, but I can't, and I don't even know. I just feel like I just was being spoiled and did not want to be there,
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get what you're explaining.
Yeah.
So when you did complete the outpatient at ASAC, what helped? What worked for you?
I was a part of drug court, not drug court, but family treatment court, which is pretty much drug court, just, you don't go to jail, I guess. I had my kids over my head, and, I was it's the same setup. So you meet with the judge every week and you have all these expectations, and, I was very involved with it. I was very involved with the community. I was very involved with my ASAC counselor. I absolutely loved her. She was amazing. I also was seeing a psychiatrist and counseling at the time as well. I was family treatment court. They have a lot of activities that happen, so I was very involved with that community. So I feel like that was a big reason that I maintained the sobriety, and I did finish that ASAC.
Okay. Yeah, I think all of those things are really key to being able to maintain sobriety, because a huge piece of it is that you're going to have to find new people to be around. And that's hard to do if you're just doing treatment by yourself without anybody else.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So it looks like your plan right now is a transitional house in Vinton. Can you talk to us about why you chose that and why you want to go there?
Well, to start off with, it is a change of people, places, and things. I don't have any ties in Vinton. Cedar Rapids is where I'm from. I've done the Anchor Center. I guess I really want to give myself a better chance. I mean, no matter what, you're going to do it wherever you are, But when I first got here last year, I seen these little old ladies touring, you know, and I wanted to know about it. And Amy Owens at the time was my counselor, and she told me about the program, and I was really drawn to it because I'm very spiritual. And I just felt like it fit my needs. Like they have the same type of requirements as like the Anchor Center as far as being clean, being a part of 12-step program. But they also have that like the church-based thing where they have you involved in a church and in that community, which would be a new one for me, you know? Yeah, that's why I chose it.
So one concern I have with the transitional house. So on one hand, I think that it sounds like a great place for you because of that community and getting you a little bit out of Cedar Rapids, I think is a great idea. But it looks like a lot of the places that you want to go for some treatment are back in Cedar Rapids. And so I'm wondering about transportation and what they've talked to you about as far as how to get to your appointments with Vinton being more rural and not having as many resources. So is that something that you've addressed with your counselor or with them?
Yes, I have both with my counselor and with them. She helps with transportation. And also my grandmother and my grandma's boyfriend, Joe, they're going to help as well, as much as they can. As far as like the treatment, me and Russell did find ASAC out in Vinton, so I can do the treatment there. As far as like my mental health goes, I have just been real comfortable with, and I have gone for the last 6 years to the same place, but I am also willing to look elsewhere. Like if I can find one in Vinton, I'm definitely willing to, but we've talked about transportation to and from Mercy Family Counseling, so I do have that.
Okay. And then what about employment eventually? What are you looking at for options there?
She has a couple places that she gets her girls set up with, and Subway is one, and then like janitorial at a hospital is another one. And then as far as employment goes, I don't know beyond that, just what I've talked to her about. And I don't know if you want to know this or not, but as far as the transportation goes, I am on the track to get a restricted license until 2029. I took the written test. I have to get a breathalyzer. I have to take the driven test, and I have to continue to pay on my fines, but I am eligible for I think it's a temporary restricted license, TRL. So
I did see that. And it's good that you have that plan in place. My question was, which I think we've addressed, is even with the license in place, how long do you think it's going to take you to be able to get your own transportation, right? Because it's kind of that catch-22. Are you going to be able to get to work, or are you going to have a car, and what you've thought out there in that space?
As far as how long, I don't know. I am going to be starting over, you know, so I'm not sure. I do know, like I said, that Victoria, the one who runs the house, like she said would help with transportation. And as far as getting like to Cedar Rapids, if I need to do the mental health, Joe and my grandmother who have licenses as well. So
Okay.
I'm not opposed to walking in Vinton. It's not very big, so.
That's fair. Yeah, and I guess if you only have the mental health in Cedar Rapids, that's one place that you need help with versus 2 or 3.
Yes.
And then I guess as far as your mental health, are you taking any medications right now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I think those are the questions I had to start. I might have some more for you at the end. I'm going to see if either of my colleagues have any questions for you. Jesse, any questions?
Yeah, I do. Hello, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Talking about your substance abuse, if you can think back, when you're using, what do you try to make go away?
A lot of guilt, I want to say, is a lot of guilt. I started using because it was fun and my parents did it, you know, my dad. I continue to use because I just couldn't stop. And then, whoa,
Uh-oh.
Sorry, guys.
No worries.
But when I continue to use, it was always because I had messed up somewhere, you know, and it just seemed like it was, I don't know. I guess I don't know. I don't know really how to answer that question. There's a lot of reasons. But a lot of it's guilt, and it continued to be guilt. I got really bad after my uncle died. And so I'm going to say guilt.
So how will you deal with that guilt on the streets?
What was that? I'm sorry.
How will you deal with that guilt on the streets?
So I'm going to continue counseling. One thing that I looked up a lot when I was on pretrial release was EMDR therapy, and everything about it that I read was amazing. You know, it helps a lot with the PTSD, and it always said that they needed at least a year of sobriety if you're a drug user, you know, and I have been clean for 18 months now. And so it's something I definitely am going to pursue. I'm going to continue with counseling outside of here.
Congratulations on your 18 months. That's awesome.
Thank you.
You took active class, correct?
Yes.
Did you learn anything from that?
Oh yeah. Oh, I definitely did. One of the biggest things that I learned was to put down the shovel. Like I use that all the time. You don't have to act on how you feel. Like you can feel it and it's fine, but you don't have to act on it. That's like the biggest thing that stuck with me.
That's a great lesson to take with you, because even like a bad text message you get, you don't have to respond to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power in that, believe it or not. So I appreciate that. What is the hardest thing you had to deal with being in prison for you?
The hardest thing that I've had to deal with is my case, my uncle, you know. I've been running from it for 6 years. I feel like I've either been high or I've been just too caught up, you know, and here you have no choice but to sit with it and to work through it. And I mean, I'm not going to tell you and lie to you and tell you I'm there, you know, because it still hurts and I still have moments, but I'm dealing with it. I'm forgiving myself. That's like the number one hardest thing. It's just living with it and not having to hide behind a mask anymore.
Absolutely. Why did your co-defendant shoot your uncle? What was the reason?
They were arguing. They were simply arguing, and I couldn't answer that. I don't know. He told me he felt like he wanted it, or he wanted to see what would happen, but I don't know. I don't know.
Fair enough.
You are trash.
I appreciate you answering the questions I had. I have no more.
James, any questions?
Hey, thank you. How you doing this morning, Ms. Campbell?
I'm all right. How are you?
Doing pretty good. My colleague said that you had completed active and you were doing a little, snapshot sharing, but one of the takeaways I was wondering about is, what are some of the things you value today that you didn't value prior to maybe your 18 months of sobriety?
You are trash.
Myself. That's like the biggest one. I now know that I'm worth it, and I now know that I'm important, you know. It's my biggest value. I mean, it's where I start.
Okay. So with yourself, what are other values that you have or that you've been able to establish within the 18 months?
I value God. I value my kids and my grandmother. I value work. I value trust and honesty.
Okay. What do you feel are maybe your biggest hurdle or your 2 or 3 biggest hurdles as you prepare to potentially transition from being incarcerated?
I feel like my biggest hurdle is going to be maintaining sobriety and my mental health. I feel like my other biggest hurdle is going to be fixing and mending relationships. I do have a lot of family. I'm just not connected with them, you know. It's this,
Right.
my uncle's death has rightfully so.
Right.
I have a lot of children that I am planning to be a part of too, so just have a lot of mending.
And you kind of partially shared that with us, you know, with mental health and with therapy and being able to talk through some of those things, because it would appear that a lot of your running away when you were on the run, or decisions that you made and choices that you use, you haven't quite faced the reality of dealing with some of the personal hangups that you've been dealing with. Is that fair to say?
That is fair.
Okay. What about the relationships that you have or didn't have with the PO? What could have been helpful towards that?
You said my PO?
Yeah.
She was, listen, my PO, she was amazing. I'm not gonna lie, Danielle Bailey was amazing. I don't know really what could have helped. I was the problem. I was high. I ran, you know? I don't really know how to answer that question.
Yeah, I know Danielle. I used to work with Danielle, and it's good to hear out of your voice to say how amazing she was for you.
She was.
Right. You know how when somebody says something and the eyebrows raised, kind of in curiosity?
Yeah.
So my eyebrow is raised, and I'm wondering what happened with you on your part, you know, especially when you talk about two values of trust and honesty, now probably more so established prior to the 18 months, you know, when you were using at those times. What could you have done, or what could you do to be better with that relationship?
Not running is where to start. I mean, to just face it head on, and to stay in contact with her. That was one thing that I didn't do. I ran, you know, so, and accept help when people are trying to help you. That's a big one. I know she was trying to help me.
So with that being said, that's what kind of create a pause, a raised eyebrow, or placement for me when we're talking about the transitional refuge housing place, and you're in transition to establish a license that could help you potentially, but knowing that that's going to create some financial ability, you know, with, you know, establishing that, and then having to put some of the burden on your grandparents who would be willing to transport you, or the services, not knowing enough about the transportational services. What's not around Cedar Rapids that would have more opportunities for you than Benton, since it's a smaller rural community?
Are you asking why I don't want to go to Cedar Rapids? Is that like what the difference between the two is? Is that what you're asking?
Maybe the difference between the two.
Cedar Rapids, I've been there my whole life. You know, I don't know. I know everything about it. I guess I'm just trying to get away from the people and the places and the things that I'm familiar with. Being in here, you learn to be uncomfortable and to do it, you know? And so I feel like making myself uncomfortable a little and starting over is the way to go.
It's interesting to hear you say that as your statement and stuff. So being uncomfortable, but knowing that there's an expectation still with the uncomfortness of being uncomfortable. So that's a pretty good way of putting it for me.
You are trash.
I'm going to conclude my questions for now, but I appreciate what you have been able to share thus far.
Okay, thank you.
Any follow-up questions? All right, so now, Ms. Campbell, is your time to tell us anything else that you'd like for us to know, or anything that you might have prepared for us today?
I want you guys to know, I'm not the same person I was when I walked in here. I'm not. I have done everything that I can to try to get tools and to maintain myself. I take it very seriously. You know, with active, I've done college while I was working outside the fence just to see how much I could handle at one time. You know, just to see, I've set goals for myself and I've accomplished them, and I'm just really hoping that you guys will give me a chance. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. So we're gonna go into our deliberation. Before we do that, I do just want to let you know that, you know, this interview is just a piece of the puzzle of things that we look at. You know, we have your recommendation from your counselor, but we can also see, you know, criminal history. We can see your behavior inside. We can see programming that you've done. We can see any correspondence that we've received. We can see, you know, interventions that you've done. So we have a whole host of information that we're able to review. So if you hear us talking about some of those things that we didn't talk about during the interview, that's why, because we can and do access that and review it when we're making our decision. But I'll have you sit back, listen to our discussion, and we'll let you know what our decision is, okay? All right, so colleagues, what are your thoughts on the recommendation of parole to place of refuge? And I guess I'm gonna start because before we went in, I had expressed some concern about it because of transportation. But I think I've changed my mind, and I do think that it would be a good place for her. I think that, you know, with her uncle being the victim, there's a separation, you know, from Cedar Rapids would be good. With the old associates, I think it would be good. It sounds like she is able to do substance abuse treatment in town, which is going to be the key for her. I think it would be good for her to see if she can find mental health treatment there. But if it's just one thing that she's going to need to leave town for, I'm okay with it. Because I do think that for her, when she was talking about what helped at ASAC before, or I'm sorry, at Family Treatment Court before, was community and expectations and, you know, set meetings. You know, she knew every week she met with the judge. She had the psychiatrist, she had social activities. And when you're looking at sobriety, you're looking at having to kind of rebuild those things from the ground up, because, you know, she's young, she's gonna need a social life and friends, and they're going to need to be healthy people with the same goals. And so I think that this is an appropriate placement, even though I did express concerns before. I guess as to the release as a whole, you know, when there has been a death, there's never going to be an appropriate time that that person's family members are going to feel that enough time has been served. And she is, you know, also a family member of him, which complicates it more. But the reality is that we only have a little over a year left before she discharges. And so the important thing here is being able to do a transition plan that helps her to maintain sobriety, so she can do that on the outside and she can change her life, you know, to maintain sobriety, to further her education if she wants to work, to be successful. And I think that this is a framework that'll help her do that. So I'd be looking at the 10C and then the 40A substance abuse and mental health, and then a 50A. What are you guys' thoughts?
Okay, yeah, as you all heard me share, I was kind of raising my eyebrow because initially I was wondering about the placement as well. But hearing you talk pretty delicately about what could be helpful for Ms. Campbell and what overall what she's been dealing with, I can see how the placement to the refuge, transitional living could be a benefit for her. As we initially talked, transportation, but it seems that, her being able to lean on support, grandparents, a grandparent friend, as well as the services. So that's kind of a red flag, but not knowing what other, consistency of that and being that far away. But if it's only one place that she would have to go in for her mental health to do the therapy, and she can still gain enough from being in a rural area, a small area, to address some of the personal needs. I can see that too being a benefit, just to kind of escape from the history that surrounds Cedar Rapids. So I can go and support what my colleague had to say and support what DOC's recommendation is to do a PG D3 with the 10C. Is that it?
Yeah.
And then
Flash.
You are trash.
and then we can look at a 40A for the mental health continuing, and then substance that you said, and then the 50A, and then hope that Ms. Campbell can establish those roots of support where she can open up more and talk about things that she's been escaping from, because until she's able to do those things, then that will help to free her from what I found most impressive being 18 months of sobriety. That is huge. And I really wish her well in terms of her continued growth.
You are trash.
Yeah, you guys covered it all. The refuge was clarified. There's a plan. I can agree with it. Same codes that you had mentioned. I'm in agreement with the DOC recommendation to the refuge.
All right. All right. So Ms. Campbell, you heard our discussion and we are going to grant your parole today.
Thank you.
We thought that you had a good interview and you have a plan in place that can help you to be successful and to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. I'm going to walk you through all of the things that we were talking about. So when you leave, you'll have standard conditions of parole and your PO will go over what those are with you. And then what we do is we place additional conditions. They're called special conditions of parole that are aimed at things we want you to do in order to be successful. So the very first one is the 10C. That means that you'll start at the place of refuge in Benton. So you will be going there. 40A, those are treatment codes. So those are things we'd like you to do in the community. So we'd like you to continue to address your mental health and then continue to engage in some sort of substance abuse treatment in the community. And it sounds like ASAC is your plan for that. And then the 50A is a prohibition on drinking alcohol or being places where alcohol is the primary activity. So liquor stores or bars that don't sell food. And then it also, you could be subject to random UAs at your PO's discretion, okay? All right, well, thank you for your time today and get out there and do all those things that you know you need to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mitchellville.
Yeah.
See you next month.
See you guys next month.
Yeah.
Or did you have a question for us?
Oh, no,
No.
ma'am. No,
Okay.
sorry.
All right.
18 months sober, 18 months locked up for the laundry list of crimes that she committed. You just can't make this stuff up. Iowa is nuts. Iowa is dangerous. You would think this was a victimless crime. You would think that nobody cared, that they murder a man. Not that he died, not that she had nothing. She was there in the room when he did it. She helped set it up to make it look like it was an unaliving incident. This is the daughter of the man that she helped kill, giving a statement to the judge, a statement given April 14th, 2023. This just happened. Are you kidding me? This is her co-defendant that she's still talking about. And when they separated me from my co-defendant, I don't know, maybe it was love. Maybe he just wanted to know what it would feel like. Are you kidding me? You don't go for insight. You don't ask her, really? Why did you do it? Why did you do it? Remember that after it happened, she was then sent to a program which she absconded from. She ran away. Then they go on a police chase. And that's not all. It's not like she had just gone off the wagon and then had a couple of crimes. Lady Holly pointed this out. You're not going to believe it, or maybe you will. But look how long her list of crimes go. It goes so long, my finger hurts scrolling through it. All of these are different sentences. 9/30, 2009, 6/2, 2010, 1/30, 2011, 8/9, 2011. These are all arrests. These are convictions. 10/14/2013, 12/2/2013. You see, the list goes on and on and on. And we're about to, by the way, see a parole hearing of a woman who, I forget her age, I think something like 47 or 54, with no record. She actually was running for like Senate, small town politics. She got in a scuffle with 3 people who didn't like her. They claim that she karate chop kicked one of them, pushed one over the ledge, and did a ninja elbow to the face, which you'll see. You tell me if you think she's capable of doing that. And the judge sentenced her to 2 years, and she doesn't have anything on her record. Sentence longer than the woman spent locked up. Oh, Mr. Moses, I'm so proud of you. You've been sober while locked up for 17 months. They didn't ask her, what's the step? What's your plan? Are you going to do 90 and 90? No. Let's send you out into middle of nowhere at some halfway house without a car that you can't even go to the program you need, but it's a good idea. And it's like, and they're trying to talk her into drive, like the whole, look, let's go. Let's keep scrolling. 3/16/2017. Ooh, there's a bunch of them. 4/13/2017, even more. And these are like, interference with the officer. I mean, I'm not even reading. 1/3/2017, driving suspended license, because she doesn't care about that. Votes by proof of insurance, because who cares? Oh, don't worry, you'll get a license again. Oh, 7/5/2017, 3/31/2018. Blah, 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 blah. 8/3/2018. Most of it's driving stuff. Can you imagine? They're actually trying to talk her into getting a license. She should be banned for life. Driving while barred. Talking about being banned. And an aggravated misdemeanor. Oh, 2 days jail. That's keeping Iowa safe. Failure to provide proof 2018. Another one 2018. 10/26/2018. Oh, okay. Possession controlled substance, third offense. Wow, 2019. Remember, it keeps going and 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 going. I'm getting bored. I told you, my finger, it hurts from spinning on this mouse wheel. Can you stop it? You're misbehaving, link file. Oh, come on. What just happened? Anyways, I think you get the point, right? Do you get the point? You can't make this stuff up. This gets me fired up. And, there's a lot of strangeness to this case, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Where is this? I got this link thing. Let me go back to Holly's notes. This woman, okay. I actually had to pause. My brain just I lost total focus. So she was, and thank you, Holly, for providing the notes. Her uncle died in 2021, murdered. She was sentenced in 2023 to 7 years, but yet she's up for parole in 2025. She was only in 18 months. It's not like the time, right? Because she was out, she absconded, she wanted to plead. What did she talk about? 3 felonies that she's locked up, and again, 18 months. It doesn't make sense. But Iowa, their sentencing arguments, they only serve after doing programs 20% is an average of a sentence, and it makes no sense. And you can say, well, she needs supervision to get out, and it's like, how about not? How about she just sit, do more time? How about she now to her credit, I thought she had she was articulate, she was communicative. I think she seemed confused by some of Mr. Moses' questions. Who wouldn't be? They make no sense. But she did not have insight, and she did not take accountability. She did not explain why they murdered her uncle. She did not shed a tear when talking about murdering her uncle. She would have seen him been murdered, helped cover it up, and there was nothing there. That's scary. That's ringing alarm bells. And that the parole board can't just think about that. It's messed up to me. It's the judges, the DAs, the parole system. Oh, here's what I wanted to show you. I knew it. This is what I was thinking. This is proof that even the judges don't know what is going on here. So the judge makes a statement in the sentencing for her co-defendant. And this is what the statement is. So her co-defendant, her boyfriend who she was so in love with, who killed her uncle only because I don't know, he wanted to know what it felt like. I don't know. He didn't make a statement at sentencing. So the judge told him that you didn't do yourself any favors in writing that letter about Randall. She said he didn't deserve further consideration in sentencing because he hadn't shown any remorse. She also warned him that the parole board pays attention to the defendant's remorse for their crime when considering paroling an offender. And judge, you got to watch these parole hearings because this parole board does not care. We cover many other states. The parole board does take that into consideration, but Iowa absolutely 100% does not care. So judge, please pay attention. Now, let me just show you, let's go over some of the facts of this, and then we'll move to the next parole hearing of the woman who had no record, who is an upstanding citizen, who they say all of a sudden turned into a ninja and then got sentenced to 2 years. And by the way, in that case, the DA was only asking the judge, when she pled guilty to 2 misdemeanors, was asking the judge that she have a 1-year no contact order with both of her co-defendants, which in a small town in Iowa was a huge difference because it meant she couldn't go to any of the government functions which she was involved in for a whole year. She'd have to be out of it. And it might have been 5 years that they're asking no contact order, but a big deal. And that she have a year suspended, and I think it was time served. And the judge, instead of listening to what the DA said, gave her a 5-year no contact order, 2 years prison to be served, not at the same time, but one after the other. And she was sent off to prison. So yeah, that's Iowa for you. So anyways, and she served, I think she ends up serving more time than this woman. I can't remember exactly, but we're about to see that program. Now, let's just go through it before we go. We'll go. Look at this prince. Wow, he's such a cutie. He's got his little teardrop for the killing he did. Wow, you're so tough. You got money. Look at you. They're going to have fun with you in prison, aren't they? Now, a daughter at the sentencing of her father's killer on Friday said that he struggled to write a victim impact statement for 3 years and 9 months because she had no words to begin to describe how her dad's murder changed her life. And by the way, if you're wondering why she maybe wasn't at the Iowa parole hearing, it's possible she wasn't notified. We've seen that happen. Brittany Campbell, daughter of Randall Campbell, 44, Cedar Rapids, who was fatally shot June 21st, said she thinks of him daily, misses him, and replays the murder in her head over and over again. I always think about what his last thoughts were as he lay dying there on the ground and how many minutes it took him to die. Remember, it was a pellet from a pellet rifle. During her statement in Lynn County District Court, she chastised her father's killer for showing no remorse or sympathy and also harassing and taunting her family on social media after the slaying. A real prince. Most recently, she said Conklin had written a letter saying that he had done Campbell's family a favor by killing him. So that's the letter the judge was referring to. Conklin tried to convince the world that nobody loved my dad and that he wasn't worth love, but Conklin couldn't be more wrong, she said. She and her father had just started to mend the relationship after years of both struggling with narcotics. She had gotten engaged before his death, and they had talked about him walking her down the aisle. I finally had my dad back for the first time in a long time, and you took that all away. Here's our princess over here. She's looking real great. I predict that we are going to see her sometime very soon. She absconded once before. I'm sure she'll abscond again. I saw nothing there that would make you think she's ready to take on life. 18 months, great. While you're locked up, woohoo! Well, are you do 90-90? Are you? What's the fourth step in the 12 step? What? Who's your sponsor? I don't know. I don't recall any of that being said, but maybe I missed it. Now let's jump into the next hearing. Let's jump into the next one. Let's go.
Publicly tried to trash us, my husband and I, when he ran for state senate and for city council. And I think the straw on the camel's back is when she publicly humiliated my son on our community page. And she was doxing our businesses so people would write bad reviews. And so that day, that morning, my husband and I were gonna go to a city council meeting that night. My intent was to tell her to stop. We're family. It just didn't work out. I asked to talk to her and she refused. And then Hodgecraft, she poked her finger in my chest and she said, "This is a private conversation," and April stepped around her. And that's just when it all went downhill. I truly apologize for doing anything to harm them in any way.
And we are about to see an Iowa parole hearing that I think is the definition of small town justice or injustice. This is insane. And those of you who are not familiar with Iowa, you'll become familiar soon. Now, why I think this is insane is that this was really a scuffle. This was a scuffle that went out of control. There was shoving, there was some kicking, maybe there was some punching, but this was done by a woman who was doxing and insulting her child on Facebook, councilwoman, or it was ugly. It was a mess, but it was not worth 2 years of prison. That's what a judge sentenced her when she pled guilty, the Alfred plea for misdemeanor assault charges. The judge gave her 2 years, 1 year on each count to be run consecutively. Can you imagine getting actual prison time? Prison time? Again, prison time for that kind of offense? It blows my mind. Now, what makes this crazy is that we see in Iowa those who have records, felonies that go back decades, assault, stalking, SA, the worst kind of offenses that you can see, and they don't even get sentences of that length. Iowa is broken, in my opinion, and we're about to watch this parole hearing. I'll unpack it with the details, and then we're going to see a case just like the one that I described to you. Someone with a long record, longer than you can even imagine. I'm talking about 70 plus felonies, and still we'll see how the Iowa Parole Board handles that one. But just in case you didn't believe me, I'm going to play this for you before we jump in.
Former Boone City leader has been sentenced to 2 years in jail for assault. Amy Rasmussen was arrested last November after police say she attacked 3 city council members. Rasmussen served on the Boone Art Commission. She entered an Alfred plea in this case, which means Rasmussen maintains her innocence, but recognizes there's enough evidence to convict her in a trial. Rasmussen received 1 year each on 2 counts of assault causing injury.
Okay.
I can hear you. Are you Mary?
I'm Amy.
Amy, okay. Are you standing in for Mary today?
No, I'm coming. Nope, she's coming.
Okay, perfect.
Good morning,
Hey,
gentlemen.
how you doing, Mary?
Good, how are you doing?
Good, thank you. Is there anything different from the evaluation that was submitted?
No, sir. Mm-mm.
Okay. Colleagues, do you have any questions before we start? You can go ahead and bring the defender in.
Okay, thank you very much, John.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Mhm.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Could you please state your full name and your state number?
Amy Lois Rasmussen. And the number is 673-6014.
Thank you, Ms. Rasmussen. I appreciate that. My name is Jesse Rincon. Today, my colleagues today are James Moses and Dana Wingert. We'll be conducting your interview. This interview that will be conducted is considered to be in a public forum, meaning that the public and the media can listen in, but they're not able to participate. We could possibly discuss confidential information such as your mental health, substance abuse history, or any medical history. Do you understand this? Are you willing to continue with this interview?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. So how this works, I'll get started off by asking you to describe the crime in detail. What was going on in your life at that time? What brought you to prison? After that, my colleagues and myself might have some questions for you to answer. After we complete our questioning, I will ask you if you have anything for the board that you would like us to know or that you've prepared. Then we'll go into what's called deliberation, meaning we're going to make a decision.
Okay,
At that time, when we're in deliberation, you just listen in, and once we've made that decision, I'll come back to you and explain the best I can, okay?
yes.
So let's start off by going back to the day of the crime. What was going on in your life? What happened? And you have the floor.
Can I do the history, the background of it before?
That's fine.
Okay, so it's been years of harassment and I guess you would say mental abuse. Leading up to when my mom was on her deathbed, she did a wellness check. And so the officers came in and my stepdad was saying that she was on her deathbed and they were just wanting to know if she was dead or not. And so the officers got mad at that and they said that they wouldn't call him back. So that was an Iowa number, Boone, Iowa number. And then she tried to pretend to be me for the hospice and the coroner report after my mom died. It's a lot of different things. She publicly tried to trash us, my husband and I, when he ran for state senate and for city council. And I think the straw on the camel's back is when she publicly humiliated my son on our community page. And she was doxing our businesses so people would write bad reviews and go to the Better Business Bureau and file complaints and the reviews on our Facebook pages. She would have her and her friends do bad reviews. But the main concern to me was my son at that point. And so that day, that morning, my husband and I were gonna go to a city council meeting that night. And we were against, it was a meeting for the water department. They were gonna privatize our city water. And I was against it, and I knew my cousin April was against it too. So I thought we had a common ground. And I'd be able to talk to her. But when I confronted her, my intent was not to hurt or touch or anything. My intent was to tell her to stop. We're family. just didn't work out. I asked to talk to her and she refused. And then Hutchcraft, she poked her finger in my chest and she said, "This is a private conversation," and April stepped around her. And that's just when it all went downhill. I truly apologize for doing anything to harm them in any way.
So have you ever had any kind of incidents where you reacted the same way that happened on this date? Have you ever had any kind of instances like that?
No, no. I've never, what, confrontations with her?
Just in general with anybody?
No.
And I know that your sentence is short and they have not assigned you any programming. What have you learned on your own while being incarcerated?
Well, prior to being incarcerated, I was out on appeal for 2 years. So myself personally, when the judge said that I needed some kind of a therapy or something, I went out on my own and I found my own therapy through my physician in Ames. And I did 1.5 years of therapy, counseling, fighting my triggers, what caused my trigger that day, and then just working to better myself. And then here with a counselor and the chaplain Bell and activities director Chris, with their messages about self-care. I was hearing how important it was for me. And
Were you ever diagnosed with anything during those
no,
sessions? No.
no, just emotional.
And are you on any kind of medication at this time?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So what are your plans for work if you're released?
I have my own business.
Which is?
My own business. It's a
Is
dog
what?
grooming
Okay.
out of my home, and I'm gonna reestablish that. And then I'm gonna go into helping people train to dog groom. That's a big, everybody's looking for that, so
Okay.
establish myself in that area as well.
All right. Thank you for answering that. And your plan is to parole to your husband's house, correct?
Yes, our home,
Okay. And how's your relationship with your husband?
perfect,
Good.
loving, perfect.
There's been support from him?
Yes, and my son.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for you right now. I'm going to pass it to my colleagues, see if they have any.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. How you doing, Ms. Rasmussen?
well, I could be better.
Could be better.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hey, I saw that you have your wedding band.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that something that came about last year?
No, we've been married for getting this here in this institution.
No, how long have you been married?
For over 21 years.
Oh, okay, okay. Because I saw that you were allowed to have your band
Yes,
last year.
yes.
Okay, which
That
is,
was a process.
help me understand that process for you.
Oh, so I had to go to my counselor and then I had to go to the security director. And my husband had to bring it, well, they had to verify that we were married. So my husband sent in a marriage certificate. And then after that, after they approved it, then my husband could bring it to his next visit. And then I got it then. No, it went to the R&D.
Went to R&D.
It went to R&D and then Hedberg had a woman give it to me.
So with the process, how did that help you, throughout that transition? What were kind of the things that you went through going through that process?
Well, getting my wedding ring.
You are trash.
Correct.
The patience and how long it takes and just being patient on the process,
Ladies and gentlemen, it has nothing to do with this case. It does not make sense.
pretty much.
I asked you the question that may seem a little strange to you because you also talk about some therapy that you had experienced and that you went through and you had over a year and a half. So throughout that process, how was that time period for you?
I learned a lot. I learned through my therapy before I came in here, I learned a lot about my triggers and what, how I shouldn't be triggered by people's opinions and concerns about what they say about me or my family. I think I'm a big protector of my family, but it's really helped. And my husband got to come on some of the therapy sessions as well. So we became a stronger unit together, as it should be.
And that's part of why I mentioned those questions is because of that process, in a sense, being 20 plus years of marriage helps to reunite, reestablishes what you all mean to each other during this period of time. And then you being able to learn some things about yourself and what to work on that is helpful for you.
Yes. It was.
Okay. With your business with dog grooming, how long have you had that?
The one at the house has been for 19 years.
Oh, 19 years.
And it's in my home. So
Well, you have those several things that kind of overlap with each other that shows a lot of patience because with grooming and tending to
the
dogs,
yes.
that also too carries to the therapy
Yes.
as well as the process that it took for you to have some patience with your wedding ring and the certificate to your counselor and stuff.
And I learned a lot of patience here as well as compassion for myself and for the other women here.
If you have any other values to contribute to passion, what would you add to your values with compassion?
With compassion. Compassion comes with patience and understanding and the ability to listen to, well, myself, like when I'm in a calm state, or to other people without judgment.
Maybe I asked that wrong. What would you say you value besides compassion? What are other values that you have?
Integrity. Honesty comes with integrity. Support for my family. The love for my family. And my community.
Ms. Rasmussen, I appreciate your time. That concludes my questions. Thank you.
You are trash, Lindsay. You are trash.
Thank you, James. Dana, you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have a couple for clarification. So one of the victims, April, you indicated that was your cousin?
Yes.
Okay, and how is that relationship going since this?
It was good at first, but then things took over where her and I didn't we both have different views on things. And so it just took a turn and we just kind of ignored each other. But when she started meddling in my family's affairs, that's where I had to put my foot down and not talk to her anymore. Just like my sister. My sister was my first abuser. So when she started having conversations with my sister, and I don't know how to explain it. It just went south. And then, so we really didn't talk. Or she always had something to say, always called me slow or stupid or ignorant. And I had that all my life with my sister. So she became my sister in that sense.
Okay, that kind of leads me to my next question. So, Boone's a smaller community. We have a no contact order that was put in place for 5 years, so that's going to run into 2026, well into 2026.
2027. Yep.
So
Justin.
what are your plans to navigate that? Because there's a lot of community events and we've read through all the documentation, the minutes of testimony, everything. I mean, we have a lot of information that we poured over prior to this meeting.
Yes.
There are different community events, there are different functions, even public meetings like, the venue where the incident occurred, city council meetings. What are your plans to navigate that to make sure that you don't end up on the wrong side of that no contact order in the months and years moving forward?
So since the 2 years I've been out on appeal, I haven't broken any contact order. And I'm not about to at all. We usually go shopping out of town anyway. I don't go to public events anymore. I don't attend public meetings anymore. And I'm fine with that. And I don't want to come back here again. So there's no possible way that I would ever break that contact order.
Okay, and then your husband, your son, I mean, they also have a good understanding of that no contact order and what that means, in terms of you.
Yes, they do.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you, Dan. Do you follow?
No.
Okay, Ms. Rasmussen, so this is the time, if you have anything prepared for the board or you'd like us to know anything before we go into deliberation, you have the floor.
I don't have anything prepared, but I'd like to say that I would not come back here again. I'm sorry for whatever happened. I regret if I had to do it all over again, it wouldn't happen.
Thank you.
I hope that one day they could forgive me for what I did.
Thank you. So it's time to just sit back and listen. We're gonna go into deliberation. And then when we've completed, I'll come back to you and explain, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Colleagues, thoughts?
I can go ahead. I thought this was a good interview. I still feel that she's still emotionally attached to the situation that has evolved, and she's trying to still grieve the entire process with being incarcerated throughout this period of time, things that she learned for 1.5 years of therapy, the relationship, the toll that it put on her family, but also through therapy, learning how to deal with her emotions, and still, I feel, is working through some of that. I feel she's sincere when she says she won't be back. I like some of the values that she mentioned, even with compassion, especially with compassion, integrity, honesty, and then her family. That's important to her. So with just a lot of the things, and even the things that is shared, from also looking at history, that's not much that is there. I'm willing to agree with DOC's recommendation, but my position would be for immediate discharge instead of putting a timestamp for a discharge or future date, or open it up to you both to see what your thoughts are.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Jane said. I think during that dead period, if you will, during the appeal, she sought out that therapy on her own. I think that's a huge step, because given the nature of her crime, like I said, there is no history. There's really no programming for her. her healing, if you will, or her bettering herself only occurred while she was out on appeal. You know, and she indicated that she wants to continue that. Right now, she's basically sitting to sit. She's not getting any better. It's taken an emotional toll on her being away from her family and her community. She was able to successfully avoid the people involved in this incident, you know, for a 2-year period. She understands what she needs to do moving forward. I'm in agreement with James. I mean, you know, she's been punished for this crime, and I think probably more so by herself and just not being around her family. I think my opinion is it's not doing her any good to just sit. Getting back with her family, back in the community, where she has that emotional support, and then continuing that therapy, I think that's the best course for her.
Thank you. All right. And myself, you guys covered everything, my thoughts, and you covered the NCO because she's never been through that process, which is good because that's the quickest way to return is bringing that NCO. And then her initiating, being proactive and getting her self-help with the counseling, I think that just puts a stamp on it for me as well. So I'm gonna be in agreement with you two with the immediate discharge as well. So I'm gonna deliver. Thank you. Hello, Ms. Rasmussen. So you heard us deliberate. Before I give you the explanation, I want you to understand that before this interview, we were able not to only see the recommendation of your counselor, but we went through the institutional records, your risk assessments, criminal history, any kind of substance abuse history or treatment history that was there, and your release plan. So we had the opportunity to review all this, take that into consideration. Our decision is to immediately discharge you as of today. So we are happy that you were proactive in seeking out the counseling. It's our hope that you continue to do self-help,
Yes.
you know, for yourself and for your family, because if you're doing good for you, everything else that filters out will be fine. So that is our decision. We're going to immediately discharge you today. It's going to be a PG D30 for the immediate discharge, and we wish you well. That will conclude this interview.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Take care.
Hey, good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
Sorry. I had so much. I can't watch these Iowa parole hearings. I can't do it. They grind my gears. So I'm watching it and I'm just like, I'm watching a circus. These are a bunch of clowns. So you know what? I went out, I found these things in my editor. It's fun. I get it's not really my style. I get it if you're offended by it. That's okay. We're not an echo chamber in here. Let me know that you know if you think I'm making a mockery of the court. I understand, but I think what we see is a mockery of the system in Iowa. And look, it's the question. Like I don't think she should be in prison. Period. Now, I don't think she had a good parole hearing. Her parole hearing was wacky. I got to tell you, the first time we'll go through the information. She has appeals and everything. The first time I saw the parole hearing, I had no information. I didn't know what I was watching. So it just comes on with this rambling statement about her relative, and I have no idea what's going on. And it sounds like every other statement, where usually the result is that she like killed someone, right? It's like this weird, you know, like smoke and mirrors gaslighting opening statement that she gave. I'm waiting for her. Okay, so who did he kill? Who did you run over with the car? Like what elderly person did you leave dying in bed? And then it turns out like it's like small town politics stuff. She had no record. She's a mother. There's an incident that is like with a political rival, and yes, it's not okay, but it's like a night in jail and community service, not 2 years in prison. Now going in front of the parole board, it's crazy. And yeah, I mean, maybe it's like something's up with their personality that I don't know what's going on. Weird parole hearing, but at the same time, sometimes you got to go down to the level of the people you're around, which is the parole board. What kind of question is it? How did you get that ring in accordance with it tough to get because I know it's difficult? You're like, who? You're talking to someone who is an accomplished person. She's running for Senate, like, or council or whatever. Like, what are you talking about? Wow, she filled out some forms to get the ring on her finger. Wow, like, God. It's unbelievable. You know the craziest thing, Sir Richard had done research on him. I don't know if I've told you guys this before, but so he says on his personal business profile that he's a public speaker. Yes, he views himself to the point where he publishes it on his public profile that he is a public speaker. He thinks he can speak. He studied literature. That's what his BA is in. Now, he played college ball, which I think is really cool. And then he was a parole officer for like the past 30 years, although he never ranked up. I don't know what that means. Some people choose not to rank up. But he's clearly not a public speaker. He's incompetent. The questions he asks are insane. He's like a one-trick pony, the same question every time and the same answer. This was a good hearing. What are you saying? And the new parole board member, he was the chief of police. He's not any better. I was surprised, but you saw how many ums he threw out there? This is Iowa. But what's more disturbing even than this whole parole thing that we just saw is, again, the idea that she could have spent 2 years, like, I guess not 2 years, but even to get the 2-year sentence, that just smells rotten. They're releasing people, violent criminals with habitual offenders, 60, 70, 80 arrests on their record. They're releasing them early. Child offenders, they release early because they don't have room for them in prison, but you're going to put her in prison? It's nuts. Look at this. We can go, there's news articles. We'll go over the appeal. She appealed it. I mean, who wouldn't? Former Boone City Arts Commissioner Amy has appealed her. She's the Arts Commissioner. 2-year prison sentence handed down July in 2022. The Iowa Court of Appeals is considering the case, though submitted written arguments rather than in-person oral appeals. The appeal was filed April 20th. The decision has not yet been released. And of course, she lost her decision. She was arrested November 29, 2021. I would love to see the body cam for this. After police were called to Boone City Hall. I mean, it would have looked like a Karen event, It would have. And she needed to do, but jail and community service would have been embarrassing enough. After police were called out to Boone City Hall, she admitted to Police Chief Wiebold that she was in a physical altercation with several women. 56 years old. A 56-year-old. This is insane. She entered the Alfred plea, and she didn't put them through trial. She did the Alfred plea for 2 serious misdemeanors. They call it serious misdemeanors, not felonies. Misdemeanors of assault causing bodily injury or mental illness. That specific plea means Rasmussen waived her right to trial, not admitted guilt, but acknowledged there might have been enough evidence to be found guilty. Can you imagine the judge saying, "No, I'm going to get you prison"? Like, wow. How many people on your docket have you let out? How many chomos did you give probation for, Judge? The victim of the assault were fellow Boone Arts Commissioner Laura and April, Boone's Park Commissioner and cousin of Rasmussen, and fellow Arts Commissioner Holly Stecker, who was also a city council member at the time. And remember, they did post crap about her son on social media. That's off limits. They doxed her. That's off limits. Hutchcoff was pushed over a retaining wall, and Birch was kicked in the chest. Oh, that's impressive. Suffering 4 lacerations to her head, according to police documents. Stecker was struck in Rasmussen by her elbow. Sounds like she's a ninja. Man, I didn't see that coming at her. So she pushed someone over a wall, kicked someone in the chest, and then elbow smashed someone. Hey, you got to give her credit for that. That's impressive.
The day after her arrest, she was bailed out by Kevin of Waterloo for $2,000. She has not served any jail time since and will remain free during the process of appeal. Now she claims her sentence was in error. In her appeal, the Iowa court claims that Judge Stephen Owen of second, and mind you, this is written by them. Like, this is what they would have said. I just don't see this woman pulling those ninja moves, okay? In her appeal, the Iowa court, Second District of Iowa, abused its discretion when sentencing. The sentencing court erred by extending a no contact order in a companion case as part of the defendant's plea agreement, according to the documents. The district court also extended no contact orders in favor of Birch and Henry over 5 years, which, by the way, means, on my assumption, means she's at the job, right? The appeal states that the altercation began after a city council public forum when Rasmussen approached the three women on the steps outside of the Boone City Hall. Birch began backing away. Rasmussen pushed Hirschcroft out of the way and over the retaining wall. I just have a hard time. But, you know, if the wall was low, you would fall. Okay. As Birch was backing away, she tripped. Rasmussen then got on top of her, began hitting and kicking her, and slammed her head to the ground, according to the Supreme Court filing. I mean, that does sound very violent and dangerous. Hutchcroft then ran into City Hall to call for help. Rasmussen then elbowed Stecker in the head to get out of her way, and then kicked her in the head one final time. I'm sorry, okay. Rasmussen admitted to police that she just kicked her ass, and of course she shouldn't have said anything to the cops, because Rasmussen alleged Birch had attacked her husband and son on Facebook during a local election. Now, I'm saying straight up, what she did is wrong. You cannot do physical violence. She needed to suffer the consequences, but prison was not the answer. No, you don't get prison on your first offense at the age of 56 years old. It doesn't serve anyone. No, the judge, we're going to send a message. All three victims submitted verbal and written victim impact statements at sentencing. Clowns. I think it's clowns. You guys can tell me if you think I'm wrong, but this is not what you do not go to prison for this. That is a hill I'll die on. Okay. Background facts. Let's go to the appeal. Thank you, Lady Holly, for this. Now, on November 29, 2021, the defendant, Amy Rasmussen, confronted victim 1 while she was talking with victim 2 and 3 on the steps outside of Boone City Hollow. Victim 1 declined the defendant's request to speak privately, but the defendant continued to yell and make threats. I mean, she was being a serious Karen. Let's be real. Victim 1 that she would be hog chow. Then these are Iowa insults. Hog chow. The next time she posted about the defendant's son or husband on social media. But dude, that's true. Don't post about someone's son on social media. I don't know how her older son is, above 18, but still. As you know, I guess if you're above 18, it's fair game, actually. But you know, it'll strike. Okay. As the defendant continued to invade the victim's space, victim 3 attempted to defuse the situation by placing her hand on the defendant's shoulder and asking her to stop. The defendant then responded, "Don't you effing touch me," and elbowed the victim in the head to get out of the way. And you see, I mean, the problem is that she had 3 witnesses against her, and she admitted to the cops what she did, and they would have had marks. But had she just gotten a lawyer and even said then, "Hey, when she touched me, she pushed me," and then they would have said, "I only touched her," but now it's her word against hers, and then that makes the attack, you know, like always get an attorney. But she still just pled to misdemeanors. She did not. No one expected the judge to do this. In the meantime, victim 2 took out her cell phone, thinking she might record the incident or need to call for help. No, she was taken out to record. Upon seeing this, the defendant told her, "Go ahead, record me," and then pushed victim. This is the type of stuff that would be on Biggin channel. You guys know Biggin? He's great. Check him out if you haven't. He's the one who does a Biggin raids for us. This is the kind of stuff that you see on his channel, the video footage of it. And then push victim 2 over the retaining wall. This is when her nunchuck skills came into place. She proceeded to attack victim 1, causing her to fall to the ground. As victim 1 was on the ground, the defendant jumped on top of her and struck her multiple times before kicking her. When police arrived, the defendant indicated that she had personal feud with victim 1 and admitted to kicking her ass. And she did kick her ass. The state charged the defendant with 2 counts of assault causing bodily injury, violation of Iowa's code. Both were misdemeanors, so they never even charged her with felonies. Okay, usually they charge her with felony and then they drop it. So I don't know. She didn't have a good lawyer or nothing. One count of simple assault, a simple misdemeanor violation of the Iowa Code. 2 counts of assault causing bodily injury for the defendant's physical attack on victim 1 and 2, and the simple assault charge was for physical attack on victim 3. It also charged. That's still a lot of charges. It also charged the defendant with harassment and third degree and disorderly conduct, simple misdemeanors, and non-citable offenses. The state filed all 3 simple misdemeanors under. You could just see the sergeant there writing tickets for 2 hours straight, probably. From the involving serious misdemeanors, offenses offering this blah 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 blah. The defendant and the state later reached a plea agreement in which the state agreed to dismiss the simple misdemeanors in exchange for the defendant's Alfred guilty. This was horrible. I mean, she agreed to dismiss the lesser charges. Like, I don't know what's going on here, but the only deal that she should have agreed to was the lesser charges. They should have dismissed the more aggravating ones. It's weird. I mean, like, sure, take me to trial, but hey, maybe small town Iowa. I don't know. I just don't know. To the 2 serious misdemeanor counts of assault causing bodily injury, the agreement provided that the parties were free to argue for an appropriate sentence. At the sentencing hearing, the state advocated for concurrent 1-year terms of incarceration on each of the 2 counts, with all but 7 days suspended. So they were the state was saying to run them concurrent and to suspend them. So she'll do a week in jail. So the state was asking for something somewhat reasonable here. So the judge, let's see what happened with the judge. Followed by 2 years probation. This sounds like a fair sentence. Additionally, it asked the district court to extend the existing no contact order to prohibit the defendant contact with 3 victims for a period of 5 years. Because the defendant charge regarding the victim 3 was one of the simple misdemeanor cases, the dismissed pursuant to parties' agreement, the state requested that the no contact blah blah blah. The defendant sought a deferred judgment. Alternatively, she asked the court to suspend any sentence it imposed and place her on probation with any probation period the sentence to run concurrently. So she was like saying, no, I want even less. Like, I don't know what I want to do any time in jail, so I don't want to do the 7 days in jail, suspend all of it. She also conceded that she was not contesting the extension of the no contact orders, including the order involving victim 3, in the case being dismissed. She's like, whatever. I don't want to talk to them either. However, she explained that this is a small town, and there are many activities that go on in the town. Puffer Billy days, the county fair, First Friday, various town celebrations. Thus, she requested the no contact order lasts only 1 year instead of 5 years, and allow both the defendant and victims to be able to be at those things as long as they don't interact with each other. That's fair. That's fair. That's completely okay to ask. Each of the 3 victims submitted a written victim impact statement that read the same during the sentencing. The victim 2 statement, she provided a screenshot of the defendant's social media post following the altercation, declared, "You run pretty well for okay." Sorry. That was not smart. There's something off about this woman, that's for sure. And including an address and time that corresponded to the victim's 2 location where she was walking with the cane due to the injuries to the defendant's attack. She had a cane. Wow, okay. The defendant filed various letters for others supporting nonetheless. When the district court offered her the right to make a statement on mitigation of the punishment, the defendant responded, "I have nothing to say at this time, Your Honor." The district court offered her the right to make a statement of mitigation and punishment. So she didn't make a statement, which was a big mistake. That was the big mistake. The district court sentenced the defendant to, so she's like, okay, you're not making a statement? All right. So the district court sentenced the defendant to 1 year on each count to run consecutive, not concurrent. This is like one of those like judge, like TV. Oh, I forget my favorite judges. But instead of it being a chomo, right? It's this like, I can't even wrap my mind around this. I mean, this is different level. Like, judge, you didn't need to do that. You did not need to do that. You could have said 30 days jail. That would have been enough. But no, defendant to 1 year each to run consecutively, way more than the prosecution was asking for 7 days jail. For a total indeterminate term of 2 years in prison to dismiss the simple misdemeanor charges. It also declared the sentencing and no contact order of these phases will be extended for a period of 5 years. So 2 years prison, then you get out, and then you can't do anything in your count. Will be entered in each of the 3 instances with a special, all because she didn't say sorry. On appeal, the defense challenges their sentence to the district court ability to impose no contact order. That was dismissible. That's all that they were able to appeal, huh? You couldn't appeal the sentence? I guess not. She was like grasping at straws. Look, I mean, this humbled her. She didn't, it was still a weird parole hearing. Can't make it up. You just can't. You can't make this stuff up. And I'll let you go.
That was a process.
Help me understand that process for you.
Oh, so I had to go to my counselor and then I had to go to the security director. And my husband had to bring it, well, they had to verify that we were married. So my husband sent in a marriage certificate. And then after that, after they approved it, then my husband could bring it to his next visit. And then I got it then.